Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's ASMR video. As you can see, we're doing something a little different this week. One of my good friends had to evacuate their home because of Hurricane Malton, and they are currently in town. And I'm going to be able to see them tomorrow. We love her. We barely get to see her, so that's one positive, I suppose. But she has let me know, or I asked what her favorite cookie was, and she said chocolate chip cookies. So tonight I thought we would make her a batch that she can either just enjoy or she can have as a snack whenever she chooses to go home, if that's in the next couple of days, and have something to snack on while I'm sure she battles a lot of traffic. So the stars sort of aligned. I wanted to do a cooking ASMR video again sometime in the future, and this seemed like the perfect time. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you for watching. So the first thing I want to say is my kitchen is not usually this clean. I cook in here every day. It cannot be this clean. There is a pile of stuff that is usually on the counter, sitting on the dining room table. So I just wanted to keep everyone's expectations realistic. This is very unusual. And also, I am not a professional baker. For the sake of aesthetic, I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm doing for this video, but I really don't. So I'm just trying to make some good cookies, and hopefully they'll turn out that way. It's been a while since I've made chocolate chip, but I've combined a couple different recipes, and I think they're going to turn out pretty good. So we'll see. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to brown our butter, and we are doing this first so we can get it all nice and nutty and flavorful, and then we can stick it in the fridge, and it can be getting at least room temp, if not colder, and hopefully solidifying a little bit, so whenever we throw our sugar into it, it'll be creamier, right? So I've chopped it up into little pieces right here, and I'm going to put all of that into this Dutch oven. And I'm not using a pan because all of my smaller pans are non-stick, and I wanted to be able to see whenever the butter is getting to a brown color. And this little Dutch oven is white, so I'll be able to easily see. And I am using a sort of fancier butter. This is part of the different recipes that I've read and sort of all mixed together. I believe this is from Brian Lagerstrom's chocolate chip cookie video. Hopefully there's a link somewhere if I'm really on the ball here. But he recommended using this type of butter, the European style, as it ends up being a lot creamier than normal, and of course unsalted, right? It's 82% butter fat, so a little bit fancier than your regular style butters. You also might notice I have a microphone taped to my wrist, and that is to try and capture some of the cooking sounds better, some of the more quieter cooking sounds up close. So hopefully this isn't too distracting. Hopefully it's not too distracting. we'll see. So we're going to brown this over medium heat. And the key with this, and get a spatula, is we just want to keep stirring. And as soon as we see little browner, finer bits in the bottom of our bowl, we immediately take it off the heat. We don't want to burn the butter. That would not be good. I'm also using more butter that I'm going to end up putting into the cookies because some of the butter will, of course, evaporate with the heat. So we won't be putting all of this into the batter. No, I don't know. It might taste good, right? So I'm just going to keep stirring here. And brown butter is not only something that we're putting in our cookies, but it's a base for sauces, for dips. There's a lot of things you can do with a little bit of browned butter. There's just a lot of things you can do with butter, really. Butter and potatoes, two S-tier foods. And I'll probably end up speeding through some of this process if I think in post it's a little bit too boring. We'll just see. It is starting to smell a little different, and its texture is also changing just a little bit. Once I stop stirring, you can really see all those bubbles and hear them. Okay, I think we're just about there. I can definitely smell the difference, and it's turned a lot more golden in color than just that pale egg yolky yellow at the beginning. I think I might be a little bit early in taking it off the heat, but I think it's rather safe than sorry here. I'm not quite seeing those brown flecks yet, so I think I could leave it on a little bit longer. But I think for the sake of making sure I don't leave it on too long, I'm going to go ahead and take it off and put it in a bowl and stick it in the fridge while we get the rest of our ingredients ready to go. So we don't have much of dry ingredient prep to do because we will be sort of adding them one at a time to the butter and sugars. But I am going to go ahead and pre-measure out a couple of things so we don't have to stop a whole lot whenever we start combining everything. I'm going to start with pre-measuring the flour. We are going to need 3 cups. So we'll go ahead and do that and just put it inside of this bowl. I like to keep my flour in a container like this because it makes it a lot easier to scoop out, and I don't have to worry about flour getting, I was gonna say all over the counter, but it kind of does anyway. I don't have to worry about bugs creepy crawling their way into the flour. And it's a lot easier, at least for me, than putting your bag of flour inside of a gallon Ziploc bag or something like that. I just think the container's great. Usually, I don't like to pre-put things in containers, but this works very well. And also with our flour, I myself just learned of this a little bit ago. You're not supposed to scoop your flour with your measuring tool. You're supposed to go in with your spoon and then just drizzle it. You never want to pack your flour or you will use too much. So we will be doing that. We're just going to grab with the spoon and then put into our measuring cup. And I might have to stop and refill our flour. Actually, I won't do this over our bowl. Let's see, I'll move that right there. Just do it sort of like this. And if we get some on the counter, we get some on the counter. It's just how it is. I'll level this out into the sink. Right? There you go. We have 1 cup. This might be exactly 3 cups. If I had to guess, I would guess we're gonna come out a little bit short. But it might be around 3. Exactly. We're gonna level this into the sink once again. There we go. We have 2 cups. And let's see if we can make it to 3 cups of flour. You know, I think we just might make it. I think we're gonna be right on target here. I do have more flour in the pantry, so we would have been fine. But there we go. It's got flour all over that microphone. It's fine, okay? We have our 3 cups of flour. Easy peasy. And then you can just dust this off. Perfect. Onto the counter. Since this is the counter by the sink, it is not very hard to clean. So that's great news. All right, so we have our flour measured. We also need a cup of sugar, but I think I'll just, well, you know, we can measure it anyway. So we need a cup of sugar, and those sugars are going to go together with our butter in the first step. So I've got our sugars here, and we need a cup of each. So we'll go into the granulated sugar. And I cannot do this. This will not fit. I might get a half cup. So we can scoop it right out of the bag. All right. Here is a half cup. And that is just barely not enough. I'm gonna pour. All right. We now have half cup of granulated sugar, and we just need 1 more. So pouring worked really well. I think I'm gonna do that again. And we have a full cup. Now for the brown sugar, I am using dark brown sugar, and this just has more molasses in it, so a little bit more syrup. So we need a cup of this packed. Always want to pack your brown sugar. I don't think I've run into a recipe yet that does not want your brown sugar to be packed, unless you're just sprinkling it on top of something. So I'm just going to use the full 1 cup measure to back this. Whenever you're baking, measurements are a lot more precise. Temperatures and textures matter a lot more. It's very specific when compared to just regular cooking. In cooking, I love to eyeball and not worry too much about exact measurements of things because I don't like cleaning dishes. But in baking, this is not the case. We cannot do this. We must measure or we will, our product will not be very good. If you've ever watched cooking shows where, people compete with each other to make the best cupcakes, and one of their cupcakes, for some reason, just doesn't bake in the oven, and you're thinking to yourself, they are a professional cook. How could this happen? And it's because they tried to eyeball, and it did not work very well. So we have our sugars all measured. We can go ahead, and I brought out my small bowls that I just got. We can go ahead and get some of our smaller ingredients in here. I'm not going to worry about the chocolate chips until the very end, but our baking soda, we can do that, and the tiny little bit of baking powder and our salt as well. We can go ahead and get those all separated. I'll leave our vanilla and the eggs until we are already creaming everything. It's gonna be fine. All right, so let me grab the baking soda, baking powder, and the salt. All right, so I have all these smaller ingredients here with me. This is a new thing of salt. This says it has a little side spout, but I don't think I'm going to trust that. I sort of just want to open it. Well, okay, that looks better than I thought it was going to look. It's actually built in there. Let's go ahead and open that. All right, that'll be easy to pour out of. We have baking powder and baking soda. So we'll go ahead and measure the salt. We're going to need half a teaspoon. I'm going to measure that over the sink. Some beautiful kosher salt. And we're going to use just a tiny bit of baking powder. A lot of people don't like to use baking powder in their cookies. However, in some of the recipes I saw, people did use baking powder, and it was, people who knew what they were doing. So I'm going to put just a little bit of baking powder in here. I keep looking at the recipe. Just 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then we will measure out our baking soda. People usually just use baking soda, I think, for cookies. Or at least that's what a lot of recipes that I saw used. So for baking soda, we are going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon. And when the time comes to put this into the cookies, we are going to dissolve it in just a little bit of hot water, because that is what my mom's recipe says to do. So we have to do it, you know. So I will leave the spoon with the baking soda. And I think we have everything measured out that I wanted to measure out before we started throwing everything together. So I think I'll move a few things around, bring the mixer down right in front of me, and we'll start throwing everything in there. Okay, so I lied. I ended up measuring out the last few things that we needed, so I won't have to crack eggs or do the vanilla. But I have the butter from the fridge/freezer. It's about room temp. I wish it was a little bit more solid, but that's okay. We're all just cooks here, right? And I think it'll be fine. So I have my butter and I have my sugars, and this is going to be the base of our cookies, and it's really the base of, I think, most cookies out there. So we are also going to start the oven and preheat that to 350. Go ahead and do that. Perfect. So you might hear that beep in just a couple of minutes. So let's go ahead and start throwing things together, right? All right, we're back. I've got the area all cleared away. And as you can see, I've got gloves on because I do this by hand and I hate trying to get the cookie dough out of my fingernails. So I just do it by hand. So I just grab a tablespoon about of cookie dough, make it into a little ball, just like that. And then you might be wondering, and why do you have a plate? That does not go in the oven. So really, before you cook your cookie dough, we are going to put this in the fridge. Some say 30 minutes is fine, some say an hour, some say overnight. I will be putting probably 6 in the fridge for about an hour, and then I'm going to come back after giving my 2 cameras a charge, and we will bake these. And then I'm going to put the rest in the fridge probably overnight and make them tomorrow. And I see a lot of people just putting this whole thing in the fridge, and maybe a baker that's watching the video can let me know, you know, if you put this whole thing in the fridge, freezer, whatever, it's going to be really hard to roll into dough balls. Whenever you take it out, you're going to have to let it sit. So what I do, I roll it into dough balls right now. I put the dough balls in the fridge or freezer, and then they're ready to go whenever they come out. I don't have to worry about rolling them. So I do that beforehand, and I don't think it really makes a difference. It's just a lot easier for the baker. So I'm going to go ahead and roll all these dough balls out, and I will get back to you after a few of them have set in the fridge for a little bit. Hey there, this is your cookies are in the freezer intermission, and I thought I would just read you some of the fortunes that we keep on our fridge that we get from Chinese restaurants. Stay open to new experiences and adventures. And good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. And how about another fortune? Secondfortune.com. I don't think those count. Anyways, back to the cookies. Hey there, it's now time for the cookies are in the oven intermission. So I thought I'd read you another fortune. If we are all worms, try to be a glowworm. All right, we're back. The cookies are out of the oven. I did end up cooking them for about 13 minutes. That's not really surprising. I didn't think they would get done in 10, especially coming out of the freezer. But you know, gave it a little bit more time, waited till those edges looked a little bit brown, and we are probably about 2 minutes away from the 5 minutes it's suggested that you wait before depanning the cookies. I think, you know, I was a little nervous, but I think they at least look like they turned out okay. It always looks like I could have put more chocolate chips in. I guess I didn't quite make it to the 2 cups, but you know, I think it'll be okay. They look really good. I can't wait to try them. I've actually never had a chocolate chip cookie before, but I feel like for the sake of this video, I probably need to give them a try. I've just, you know, I just like making them for other people, really. But I'll give it a try. I'll get some milk. I'll cross my fingers I don't have acid reflux, and I'll do a little taste test. All right, I think it's time we go ahead and plate these cookies. Usually I would use a spatula, but I don't want to have to wash it. So we'll just use our hands. And also usually, because I'm pretending to know everything in this video, you want to take the cookies off the pan and then onto a cooling rack until they're completely cooled. But we're just gonna go straight to a plate because I'm gonna be trying one. And a single cookie isn't very aesthetic, so I guess I'll put another one on there. A nice little plate. The bottoms look pretty good, not burnt at all. Look at that, looks pretty good. I can see the sea salt. All right, I guess I'll give it a try. Again, I've never had a chocolate chip cookie, so I might not be the best judge, but they smell good. They look like cookies. I think it's gonna be fine. Okay. I think they're pretty good. Again, I'm a little biased, but they're very soft and moist. Let's see if I can get some of the salt in a bite. All right, I've almost made it to the center. Hopefully this doesn't sound gross. There you go, there's some salt. Hopefully there's not chocolate all over my teeth too. Oh well. I think the salt definitely tastes really good with the sweetness. I've been diving into this book. It was really popular a few years ago, but I was just able to get it from the library. Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and it talks about how salt just really enhances other flavors. And when it comes to sweet things like cookies, salt doesn't cancel out sweetness, but elevates it. And I definitely think that's the case here. Definitely. So there you have it. Here's the crumb. Again, I'm not really sure what, the perfect cookie is supposed to look like, but I think they taste pretty good. Yeah. Hopefully they're done in the center. They're very moist. I also didn't let them cool, but I think they're done. Yeah. Well, there you go. We have completed our chocolate chip cookies. Thanks for sticking around, watching me make cookies. I hope you enjoyed. And if you want to try it at home, I really encourage you to do so. Don't think it's too hard. It's not too hard. You can do it. Don't think it's not worth the effort or the time. You deserve it, right? So I really encourage you to give these a try. And if you make them and they suck, try another recipe. I think everybody can benefit from some cookies now and then. So I can't wait to make the rest of these tomorrow, give them to my friend. And I believe that's about everything. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you a great rest of your night. I'll see you in the next one. Good night.